So, welcome back, everybody, to season 2 of Beyond the Breakroom. Today, I have Dave from Guidance Resources, and he's a representative for our Employee Assistance Program. And Dave, how about you give our team a little bit of an introduction to yourself and how you're going to help us out today?
Okay, sure, Mark. I'm Dave Cunningham, Senior Account Manager at ComPsych. I've been with ComPsych for 15 years. My background is clinical psychology, and in fact, I practiced in the psychiatry practice for 12 years. So I think I bring a little more to the table rather than someone who just knows how to manage accounts.
Okay, all right, okay. Well, I got a lot of questions today, and some of them are pretty meaty, so I think I'm just going to jump right into it. For those agents who are watching this, they may not be familiar. What exactly is the Employee Assistance Program from your perspective?
Okay, the program for SYKES is pretty robust. You have the counseling sessions, of course. You have 3 visits that are free, and that's for any SYKES employees and any family members residing with them. And of course, if they have a kid away from school or away at school or something like that, then we'll certainly provide services there too. But you also have the full array of the work-life services, one of which we're going to be talking about in more depth later on. You have Family Source, which provides things like referrals for childcare, elder care, event planning, just about anything you can think of that would take your time away from work and family. You have the Legal Connect and Financial Connect, which are similar in that you have unlimited calls to our own staff of attorneys and financial professionals anytime you have a question, an issue, or a problem in any of those areas. And certainly last but not least, you have Guidance Resources Online. It's a very robust website, and some of the things that we're going to talk about, people can actually do in a self-service way if they want to go on to Guidance Resources Online.
Okay, all right. So does it cost anything?
No, it is absolutely free. If you go in for using the counseling visits, you will never see a claim. There's no copay, no deductible. So this way, there's absolutely no barrier to getting the care and services that you may want.
Okay, all right. Do you need to have insurance in order to qualify for the Employee Assistance Program?
No.
Okay. How about, some people may feel a little weird calling in thinking that they're talking to their employer. So are the people that work for the Employee Assistance Program actually representatives of SYKES?
No, they are not. SYKES does have its own unique toll-free number to call into us, but that just lets our intake staff know that it is a SYKES employee or family member calling. But everything is staffed entirely by ComPsych employees. Absolutely no confidential information goes back to SYKES. What we do send to SYKES is just a statistical report showing how many people used what services. So
Okay.
it's strictly confidential.
Okay, cool. So I think I'm ready to get into some of the meatier questions. What would you say are some of the top challenges that your team is seeing as we come out of these COVID lockdowns as it pertains to getting back to normal?
Now that's a good question because we are seeing some changes in our utilization patterns, and not just with SYKES, but pretty much throughout our book of business. Things like child care and elder care, those cases decreased when everyone was sent home and started working remote and kids were sent home from school because family members were taking care of each other, at home. So now that things are opening up again, people are going back from remote work at home to working in their office. We're seeing a big increase in child and elder care referral cases. The other one that we're seeing a lot of is less of the stress and anxiety and more of the general psychological issues. So it's looking like from a utilization standpoint, things are going back to normal.
So I know for us here in the office, and I'm assuming this is something that all locations in SYKES are seeing now, you've had a lot of people who, as you mentioned, are having challenges with childcare and elder care because a lot of those locations closed down. So if a rep was to contact you guys saying, hey, my office is opening back up again and I'm having trouble finding childcare, can you kind of walk us through what that experience would be like for someone when they reach out to your team for the first time?
Sure, sure. And I want to make one comment before I go through the process. One of the things that happened when everything shut down due to COVID and kids were sent home and people were working from home, about 25% of all childcare providers permanently shut down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's not just Central Florida and Florida, it's pretty much national. So it is a bit more of a challenge, to find childcare now, because the ones that did stay open or reopened are starting to get pretty filled up.
Okay.
But if someone needs childcare services, I encourage people to call in. There's two ways you can access the services: online and calling us directly. If you call us directly, you're going to be speaking to a childcare specialist who does nothing but find, childcare services. That's their job. That's their mission at onsite. A lot of them have backgrounds in child psychology and education and things like that. So, they're familiar with working with that childcare population. And I encourage people to call, because if you can tell our intake worker your situation, your story, what you're looking for, they can drill down and try to find exactly the type of service and location you're looking for. And once they get all the information, how old is the child? Is it after school? Is it evening because you may work the late shift or something like that?
That's a big one.
Yeah. They're going to drill down to all of that in their interview for the child care intake. And then when that's over, and I sent you a sample of this, they're going to email within 48 hours a pretty extensive document that shows the services in the area that the person's calling from. And it gives them the qualifications, any kind of problems, with complaints. If they do have openings, sometimes they'll tell you, sometimes they won't. But that document can be pretty extensive, 20 or 30 pages long. And these are all qualified referrals.
Okay.
And our child care specialist has contacted these places to, number one, make sure they're still open, and number two, to see if they do have openings.
Okay, so basically, if once we send, or once your team sends that document out to a representative, there's every one of those contacts is someplace that if the rep chose to utilize that particular contact, it's someplace that they'd actually be able to go to and say, hey, I want to enroll in the child care. It wouldn't be like they reach out and they're like, oh no, we're full, or no, we're not taking any more. These are places that are definitely open for business.
Yeah. At the time we send that document, those are qualified referrals, like I said, so people should be able to access services at all those locations. But again, keep in mind, with some of the changes that the COVID shutdowns resulted in the child care area, it could change in a couple of days. Maybe they get filled up. But
Okay.
You'll have other alternatives there. It's not that we just send you one referral. Now, the other way that you can access services is go to Guidance Resources Online, and on the tile that says Access, click on that, and you can kind of say, I'm looking for childcare, put in your address or zip code, and that'll pull up the qualified providers we have in that area. It's not going to be as precise as when you call in. That's why I encourage people to call and talk to our specialists, because like I said, they are qualifying those referrals.
So, I don't want to interrupt you, but you kind of touched on a question that I was going to ask afterwards, but I guess I'll kind of tie it into what you're saying now. I know at least for my building, we have a couple programs that work late, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. And I know with childcare that sometimes can be a challenge because, the places may not be open past 6 or 7. But that also creates a challenge with them trying to reach out. So I guess it's a two-part question that maybe you can still add into what you were saying. Is there a specific time frame that a rep would have to call you guys? Like, are you open 24 hours, or can they call anytime? Or are there specific times that they can call that you're only available for? And that second piece was, with respect to those late hours that they may have to work, do the specialists kind of find childcare locations that'll be open till 11, or can they help provide alternate options?
Okay, those are good questions. Yeah, first of all, we will always try to see the service and the time of day that you're looking for those services. we'll do the best we can to find those. So if they're out there, we will find them for you if you call.
Okay.
And what was the first part?
The hours, like hours of operation.
Yeah, we're open 24/7, so people can call any time of day, 365 days a year. However, those specialists generally work till around 7 o'clock Central Time. But if you call and need to speak to somebody, you can leave a message with a callback number, and we will return that call and get a hold of the person at a time that's convenient for them.
Okay, good. I guess I really only have 2 more questions, and we're getting close to my time here. But I'm going to read it because I want to make sure I say it correctly. So we've seen on the news that there's a lot of employers who are having trouble finding employees. And I would imagine that has a lot to do with people's perception of feelings being back in the office, or even, if it's retail, back in an environment which is going to have a lot of people around it. What are some of the resources that are available to a rep who may want to come back to the office, but they have anxiety because they're coming back to the office? Or maybe they don't want to come back to the office, but people in their house are saying, you know what, it's time. You've gotten the COVID shot, or if they didn't get the COVID shot, whatever, but it's time to get back to normal. What kind of resources are available to the reps for getting to some degree back to normal?
Yeah, and that's a good question too. We are encountering a lot of people that, first people were anxious about COVID. Now they're anxious because this has gone on for 15 months now, about readjusting to be around other people again. And this is where the counseling benefit can come in very handy. Those 3 visits will give you an evaluation and short-term treatment to try to help you cope with that anxiety. And if you need more extensive treatment than that, then we refer you back to the health plan so you can have ongoing therapy. And again, the work-life services like the childcare you're talking about too, if that's something that's concerning people about returning to the office, we can help with those situational issues so that maybe they're not anxious about that because they know ComSite can help them with the childcare.
Okay. And then my last question, and I hate to feel like I'm switching gears so fast, but I know that there's a lot going on, and I know your time is precious, so I don't want to eat up too much of your time. And I also want to make sure that we don't address some of the key things in the amount of time that I have today. So my last question is, I understand that there's a mobile app now. Is that true?
Oh, yeah. It's Guidance Connect, Guidance Resources Now. You can go to either of the app stores and find it. Just put in Guidance Resources and it'll pull it up. The app is identical to what you see if you go online to Guidance Resources Online. So you can access all the same services and information from a mobile device that you would if you had to, sit down on a computer or a laptop.
Okay.
And we also have a chat function on there too. So if somebody's not really sure what they need, they can chat with a licensed clinician, and they can help to arrange the services that you're looking for.
Okay. All right. I didn't know about the chat function, so you just taught me something. That's pretty cool. Well, I think for the most part, you've covered all of the hot topics that I had today. Is there anything that I didn't ask you today that you think is relevant for today's show that maybe agents should know about if we've not touched on it?
Just one general statement, and the stress refers to the adjustment demands that are put on people. And there was a big adjustment 15 months ago when people were sent home and kids were sent home from school. And that was something people didn't really know what to do with because we'd never faced that before.
Right.
What they're going to go through now, the stress they're going through now, is readjustment. But this is something you know what to do with it. You know your job, you know your colleagues, and with supportive services like you have through your EAP program, that's going to make that period of adjustment much easier and much quicker than the uncertainty that COVID resulted in.
Okay. I would have to agree with you on the stress piece because the readjustment phase has been a lot easier than the initial phase. The initial phase, it was like every week there was something else going on. It was like, okay, do I have enough water? Do I have enough bread? Do I have enough canned goods?
Yeah, people didn't know how long it was going to go on.
Yeah, and now we're like, okay, there's the hurricane's coming in Florida. Okay, let's go get some water in about a week. And we have enough canned goods. We have enough. So the adjusting to the new norm is probably where the biggest piece is going to come from. And I think having guidance resources available for our reps and them knowing that they can reach out and not have to worry about someone from SYKES knowing that they're reaching out or things like that, I think that's going to be a huge help. Dave, I really, really appreciate you spending some time with us today. Is there any parting words that you may have for us?
Just please encourage people to use the services. We want people to get help and get the assistance they need. And also continue to let them know, strictly confidential. No one will know if they even called us.
All right. Well, I think you've said everything that I needed to know, and probably actually, I know a little bit more than I didn't know. So again, I really appreciate you today joining the show. And I want to say to all those viewers who are watching us for possibly the first time, this is our second season of Beyond the Break Room. But at SYKES, we help people one caring interaction at a time. Today we have Dave from the Employee Assistance Program and Guidance Resources. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.